Hola, bienvenidos a
Hello, welcome again to Welcome Change, our weekly conversations where we hear from social entrepreneurs and change makers from around the world about timely topics and solutions. My name is Irene Mileiro. I am the Ashoka Director for Spain and Portugal. During the next 30 minutes, we will hear from Fran Diaz about prosthetics, 3D printing, and the power of children. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, you can access the simultaneous interpretation into English by clicking on the interpretation button on the left corner of your screen and select English.
Solo hay que hacer clic en interpretación en la esquina inferior derecha de la pantalla y seleccionar inglés.
We would love to listen from you, so feel free to send your questions and in the Q&A section in the lower part of your screen. We will try to include as many as possible in the second half of the conversation. Now, I would like to introduce our guest. Fran Diaz is an Ashoka social entrepreneur since 2020 with his project Autofabricantes. Hello, Fran. How are you? I know you've just became a father. Congratulations. Hi, Irene. Thank you for this space. Welcome, everyone. Fran, tell us about Fabricantes in a few sentences. What is it? It is a collective work of cooperation to develop processes in open code so that the people who need some kind of technical assistance can be part of the teams and they are part of the solution. So they make decisions along with the team in order to solve their requirements. Your work is centered on transforming the prosthetic industry, especially focusing in children prosthetics. Tell us about the options that existed before you began with your organization Autofabricantes. What were the options? We started more than 7 years ago. We started with children, but every time we are working with more and more adults, and they are also including in our projects and teams. Now, in most of the world, the market only offers a type of prostheses that are very standardized and do not take into account the desires and special needs and requirements of each person. And also they are very expensive. They cost around 20,000 euros in Spain at least, and they are not really accessible. There's an accessibility problem, but also an adaptability problem because these type of prostheses in the market do not include the special requirements of each user. And what's the difference between Autofabricantes and other companies that do the same as you? Here, the important thing is that we don't only print in 3D printers, which is right now available in many centers. The special thing here is the methodology because the affected person becomes part of the team and we have specific protocols and methods where they are included in the decision-making processes and designing and production processes. So the processes turn out being very effective because they are parts of the whole process. In the end, they are going to have their own processes that has been developed, created by and imagined by them. Of course, we have a huge team of professionals, including engineers, designers, therapists, but the users are part of the team, and that is the main difference. Can you tell us a story, an example that we have worked on? Well, I have many stories because we have had many children in our team so far. For example, I can tell you about an old story, something that happened many years ago. Leo came into our workshop and something which is very common with all the kids. They come into our workshop very timidly, they are shy, they are quiet, they don't want to disturb the team, and they are usually very nervous. Leo was very nervous. We worked along with him. We included him in all the process. He picked his colors, and a couple of days after working with him, we gave him the prosthesis. He took it home, and then his mother wrote to us a beautiful message telling us that Leo was going to his school with his new prosthesis, and he arrived to the school so happy, screaming that he had a new hand, and all his classmates wanted to have the same hand as Leo because it was so colorful and cheerful, and that positive change in sociability and improvement in the quality of life of Leo was so significant. It was wonderful, and that's what makes us keep working and keep researching and developing projects. I have another story. It happened in Mexico with our team. She's an adolescent and she needed something to grab the handle in the when taking the bus because unfortunately people are not usually giving the seat to a person who needs it. And now we can see that in the social networks, this teenager shows the special processes that she uses in the bus, and it is so wonderful to see it. I've seen a couple of things, but maybe the people who are watching now in the audience hasn't seen them. Do you have there something that you can show us? I have something here. When we speak about prostheses, there's usually a common image that comes to our mind. A hand prosthesis, when we think of it, we usually think of designing a regular hand with a color which is similar to the human skin. But what happens is that when we make this question to the children, they say, I don't want a hand. I just want to play basketball or jump the rope or grab the handler in the bus. So the design is not going to be a regular hand with the regular skin color. These are some kind of solutions that we have, some of the solutions we have developed. This is as a basic part where you can then connect any specific gadget to perform any special activities. For example, this one is to play with the Nintendo because it has two special buttons that the child can use to play comfortably. This was designed a couple of years ago. And then we have another gadget here, which can be used to swim. It is a very simple one, which has been developed into a more professional gadget to practice swimming as a professional sport. This is another gadget for the girls to comb their hairs and style in a ponytail. Well, we have many gadgets, around 35 right now, because with this interchangeable system, this gadget that was invented for the Nintendo was not useful just for the kid who imagined it, but it can be used by any other kid. And of course, the basic parts, the part that is at the limb is the common one for everyone, but then the gadgets are interchangeable, and they are all designed by the kids, right? No, there are some, the most boring ones that have been designed by us, the adults. When we started developing and designing, we thought about designing gadgets for the basic tasks of the daily life. The children use them, But then they pose special challenges to us. Like, for example, they have requested special gadgets to climb, to ride the bike. This one, for example, is to jump the rope. We have 3 types of gadgets to play the guitar. This is one of them, but there are others where you can change the angle, or you can play then the traditional classical guitar or the electrical guitar. We have another gadget which is used to rowing, and you have to take into account that each gadget needs at least 3 sessions to think about the design, assess the prototypes, and arrive to the final solutions. For example, for the rowing gadgets, we had to meet several times. Fran, you have been a kid yourself, and they told me that when you were little, you loved chess and fixing appliances at home as well as math. What made you take the leap into designing this kind of prosthesis? Well, since I was little, I undertook several projects related to culture and design. When I was finishing my architecture career, I was cooperating with a group of professionals, of artists and professionals. And within this group, there was a family of bakers. They were friends of mine. That was around 2011. And we had been printing in 3D with very basic 3D printers for several years. And we were conducting research on 3D printing. This family told us that they were going to have a girl, and the girl was going to be born without one of the arms. And then we understood that the system, the health system, at least in Spain, is going to decide what kind of prosthesis and treatment that girl was going to have. So we started thinking about what we could do in order for this girl to be more independent and autonomous along her life. And we started to develop small apparatus and gadgets. And we started to think about new possibilities. We conducted research. We investigated on other projects that were already ongoing in other parts of the world, for example, in the United States. And we then began to develop a huge team and thinking about alternatives to accompany this family in their special case. And then we started to see that it was not only about design, that there was something bigger behind it. And we started to see that there were other families with the same problems and concerns, because even though the children had already been using the market prostheses, they found out that they were not really addressing their needs. And we started with this project in Seville, and we took the leap into a huge and bigger community in Madrid, where we gathered collective technologies and collective knowledge in a public space. In a first call in 2015, we found 30 people of different profiles, engineers, designers, therapists, but especially 5 families with kids of around 5 years old who were already using market prostheses but needed some other kind of solutions. In the beginning, we wanted to develop a myoelectrical prosthesis, but in the end, the kids told us that they wanted something else. Fran, you've been working in Spain for several years, but you are present now in Mexico and Colombia, and the name of the project there is Gecko Lab. What does this new step meant for you in getting closer to Latin America? In 2018, we arrived in Colombia, in Nariño, and along with the public organizations and government organizations, we worked in the armed conflict where we weren't very familiar about the issues, but we gathered information with local authorities and groups who wanted to set up a team like the one we had in Madrid, and we worked with them and the communities for several days. And that made it possible that we finally got to know what kind of information we needed and what kind of solutions were necessary. So we understood what are the necessary organizations that need to be our allies in order for the project to survive in time. This allowed us to improve a lot and give the following step, take the following step, where, for example, now in Mexico, we have managed to set a permanent team, which is working in Guanajuato, where we have been having a stronger and tighter relationship with the authorities and organizations. So we are operating there in a sort of a team with all the other organizations and the community. For example, the clinical studies that we are conducting at a national level in Spain can be transferred to clinical studies in Mexico. And this connection can be easily transferred there because we have the knowledge here and we know that it is working. And for example, innovations and technical solutions that are developed in some place can be transferred to other places. So in the end, there is a network of teams that can work all together, and then it is not necessary to invent the wheel at every part of the world each time. And how do you measure the impact? Well, we have a limited impact, we know, and we have to take into account that this is an artisanal work. We conduct assessments through time in the long term. In Spain, we have worked with more than 50 families. In Mexico, some 20 families. In Colombia, too. But in reality, our designs are available online in our platforms and are available to be downloaded for free. And I know that they have been uploaded at least 3,000 times, and we have received feedback from different parts of the world, from Asia, from Japan, from Latin America, from different parts of Africa, of people and communities who want to use these designs in their communities or families and want to include these designs in their catalogs. And then we sometimes send them additional information so that they can incorporate them in their catalogs. I cannot say exactly what's the number of people who have been reached by our project, but I know that the impact has been huge. We are conducting also clinical research where we are assessing the improvements in the quality of life of each of the children with which we are working. And the idea is that the health system knows and learns and acknowledges the impact, the positive impact of this project. And there are other tools available also to provide information on the different progresses. And for example, in the last workshop in Mexico, we've obtained new information and tools that are going to
Pues
be
mira, tenemos
applied
algunas
in
preguntas
Spain.
de la
We
gente que
have
nos
some
está
questions
viendo.
from the audience.
Eddie Cruz te
Eddie Cruz
pregunta,
is asking,
¿qué veis en el futuro de
what do you see
Autofabricantes?
in
¿Qué
the
tipo de
future of
colaboración necesitáis?
Autofabricantes?
Pues
What's
mira,
the
quiero
type of
ayudarte.
collaboration you are
¿Qué
needing?
necesitáis y qué
She
veis?
wants to help. What do you
Pues
need?
siempre
Well, we are
necesitamos
always in need of
instituciones
public
públicas que tengan
institutions
vocación
that
de
have the
servicio
will
público, que aunque
to
parezca
serve
mentira, no es así,
the society, which
donde
is
den
sometimes
herramientas
not
a organizaciones de la
the
sociedad civil
usual
con
thing.
ganas de innovar, que
Also,
permitan
associations from the
cambiar
civil
las reglas del juego. Hay
societies
veces que
that
hay que
want
crear
to be
leyes
involved
normativas para que
and
métodos
that
y diseños
are
como estos,
willing
como
to
tienen
change
autofabricantes y
the
modelar, tengan
standards,
cabida en
because
catálogos
these
públicos
type of
financiados
solutions
por
have to be
dinero público.
included into the
Eso es
public
voluntad política y voluntad
catalogs of the health
institucional.
systems, and this
Muy
needs
importante, por ejemplo, la
public
confianza
and
con las universidades. Es
governmental will.
fácil que el
It
conocimiento
is
técnico que
easy
disponemos
that the
desde universidades
technical
tenga impacto
knowledge
en nuestras
that
redes
is
de vecinos y proyectos que están
available
desarrollando
in
vecinos.
the university networks,
Una persona ingeniera
and it
con sus
is
conocimientos de ingeniería
desirable
en
that
3 talleres pueda mejorar la vida de un vecino
anyone
suyo diseñando una prótesis.
who has the
También
knowledge can
mediante otro tipo de
impact and have a
fundaciones y
positive
asociaciones que
impact by
ayuden a
helping
vincular
others, and also others type of
personas con diversidad
organizations
funcional
who
con este
can
tipo de
help
necesidades hacia proyectos como el
people
nuestro.
with
Puede ser
functional
económico,
diversity
pero también,
to
por
help
ejemplo,
us, but also
financiación
we are
en su
looking to
caso,
find
para hacer
funding
estudios clínicos o
in
para
order
hacer
to conduct
investigaciones, pero es
clinical
necesario que esa
research,
financiación llegue
clinical
a los equipos.
trials
Entonces,
to
pues siempre es este,
support all the
instituciones
developments. So
públicas, universidades,
universities, public
entidades
institutions,
de la sociedad
entities from
civil
the civil
y
society, and
financiación,
funding,
bien privada o bien pública, que
either
ayude a
from the
mantener este
private
tipo
or
de proyectos, porque
public
sobre todo
sectors
no es
that can
implementar el
help
diseño
to
de muchas
promote
familias, que
these
eso
projects
casi que lo puede
and
hacer y solo, sino seguir
um,
innovando y seguir investigando, mantener equipos de
replicate the
investigación y
positive
desarrollo,
impact in the
porque hacemos
families and keep
esta
working, because
investigación que os he enseñado antes,
I've
pero
mentioned
si
this
hubiéramos más
investigation
tiempo y
before,
más equipos, saldríamos
but
casi
if we
mejor.
had more time,
Muy bien.
a bigger team and more
Tenemos
funding,
más
we
preguntas.
could have other
Simon
developments.
pregunta,
We have
en el
another
momento
question
de
from
imaginar tu
Simon.
futura
When you
prótesis, debe ser bastante
imagine
poderosa,
your
una
future
expresión de
prosthesis,
autonomía para esos niños. ¿Cómo ocurre esa conversación? ¿Qué la
what's
convierte en una
the
conversación
conversation
exitosa y
with the
empoderadora
kids
para
at
los
that
niños
time?
cuando
What
se
makes
enfrentan
it
a momentos difíciles en
an
su vida?
empowering
No es,
conversation
no
for
es
the
fácil esa
kids?
situación. Cuéntanos
Tell
de
us
ello.
about that.
Pues mira, qué buena
That's a
pregunta.
beautiful
Hace unos
question.
meses
Some
estuve
months ago,
escribiendo el
I've
típico paper
been
para un
writing
congreso
the
de métodos de
typical paper
diseño
for a congress,
en Cumulus, si lo queréis leer, y escribiendo
and while I
cuáles son
was
los métodos de trabajo. Y escribía,
writing about
y
the
lo que hice muchas
methodology,
veces es llegué a la
I
conclusión de que cuando
concluded along with
trabajábamos en
my
equipo,
director that all we
siempre
were
buscamos la
doing was
confianza,
always
buscamos
trying
la
to find
confianza
the
en uno
trust
mismo de la persona que
of the
participa
person
y en
who
el
is
equipo que la rodea. Desde
participating and the team
disposición
that is
hacia,
working along the
porque por
person.
ejemplo, en el
For
taller
example, in the
las
workshop,
mesas de
the
trabajo
tables
están
are
distribuidas por el
distributed
espacio, pero la
along
mesa
the whole
principal del
space,
centro
but
es un lugar donde hay comida y
the
bebida, no hay nada
table at
más,
the
es un
center
lugar de encuentro,
is a
porque tienen que
meeting
ser espacios
point with foods
lúdicos,
and
porque hay también
beverages.
juegos, donde por
There
ejemplo
are
están las chicas
games too,
autofabricantes,
so it has
pero
to
hay
be
toda una
a
serie de
place
juegos
for
al
the
inicio del trabajo
encounter
donde
of the
todos
whole
nos
team
tocamos y nos
and the
presentamos
person.
y nos
We
reímos
just
con todos nosotros
introduce
mismos y buscamos siempre esa
ourselves then,
complicidad
and
y
we are looking
confianza que
always
va más allá de la
to
simple
encounter
socialización,
with
porque se
the other
trata también
person
de generar
in order
lazos
to
afectivos donde
create
una persona que está
emotional
buscando una
links
solución también
of
entienda
people
que
who are
es
looking for a
capaz de
solution
dar
and
apoyo
people
y
who
de
are
generar un
capable of
vínculo
providing
más allá de
support
esos
and
3 o 4
creating
días que
a
nos vamos a ver
link
en un taller y saben que hay
beyond
alguien que les
the
puede
three or
proteger
four
más adelante.
days that are going to that we're going
Tenemos
to
una
meet
pregunta de
at
María
the workshop.
sobre cómo
There's
profesionalizasteis el
another
trabajo.
question
¿Cómo
from Maria
profesionalizasteis
who
el
says,
proyecto? ¿No?
how
¿Cómo
have
has
you
ido, has sido un profesional
professionalized this
y lo
project? You went
profesionalizaste? ¿Cómo
from
fue
being a group
ese
of
proceso?
friends to a
Bueno, aún
professional group.
estamos en ello.
How did you
Estamos
make it
aprendiendo
possible?
día a
Well,
día
we
y
are
sobre todo ahora nuestro reto es
working on
descubrir un
it, and
poco
it
cómo
is
ser
a
sostenible
daily challenge,
económicamente
and we are still trying to
y
find
científico.
out how to maintain it and
Y
keep
no te sé decir muy
at
bien
it both
las
at the
afirmativas.
personal and
Al final un
financial
poco
level. It
perseverancia
has
y tener
been
claro que
um, with
imaginaos, en
persistence,
Autofabricantes han pasado más de
our
100,
personal will,
140 colaboradores en todos los
and
procesos. Pero hay un
you have to
último
take
dos
into account that thousands, hundreds of collaborators have passed through our team in all the years, but the important thing is that each of our collaborators understands that they can have a positive impact by working in this team, and there's a place where they can develop professionally. And they have also understood that their possibility of volunteering their work has an immensely positive impact. And who have been your important allies in this road? For example, you've mentioned Media Labs Prado in Madrid. Who other can you mention? We have had very significant allies with infrastructure or either economically like Media Lab Prado, but also the Ayuntamiento from Madrid and the Danina Carazo Foundation, which operates in Spain, the Polytechnical University of Madrid, the governments in Guanajuato or Nariño, the Ibero-American General Secretariat to get to other countries, and all of them have also enabled us to get to the local partners, and here or any other part of the world where we have been, we have developed a huge network of collaborators. And then I have a final question from the audience. Have you seen some of those gadgets jump into the massive markets? And another question is that your goal? I haven't seen them. I have seen some other similar gadget, which has been developed by another group. But yes, it would be great to get to the massive market, but the important thing is that the impact has to be huge beyond our capacity. And how would you say we can take this view and this approach to other sectors in the healthcare system? Have you seen other examples? The goal is to include everyone, each individual in the decision-making process when it comes to their health. There are all kinds of protocols. You have those where the person is never consulted or asked anything, and there are others where the individual is included. The logical thing would be to pass laws where the desires, limitations, personal needs, and wishes are included in the decision-making process. This is not really very difficult. It has to do with the will and developing protocols, the necessary and appropriate protocols in the health care institutions. We have to keep on developing tools, open the minds, and make the knowledge available for everyone so that each individual can own the knowledge. But also it is required that the public institutions have to promote this type of vision and the person has to be included. There are beautiful projects in different parts of the world, in including the affected individuals in the decision-making process. There's one in Paris that I love. They work with the Huntington disease and they have developed a manifesto which I encourage you to read because it is a beautiful manifesto. Yes, we will do. Thank you, Fran. You're true, and we will keep thinking about that you're saying that the affected person needs to be taken into account in the decision-making process. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Please share the link that you're going to receive and share this conversation. We invite you to join us for future episodes of Welcome Change, a weekly series about the future we want to live in and the role that each of us can play. Thank you. Good evening. Good afternoon for everyone.